Well, time to reflect on what was a pretty spectacular first year in the second tier with Distillery. We've got to work out today what we're planning to do this summer, because although I don't think the squad needs perhaps the biggest overhaul ever, we are still going to need to do some work. Which players can we keep hold of? Which ones are going to be saying goodbye? And what do you think we should do in the summer? Come and see if you agree with me. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 26 of Lifting Spirits with me, Daniel. We are back today to review season 3, and let's be honest, it was a really good one. A pleasant surprise, a little bit of an up and down, because about a third of the way through the season we thought we were at threat of relegation. We were in that 11th place playoff spot, but we actually finished the season in the promotion playoffs after becoming the ultimate 1-0 boring team. A few of you have suggested George Graham as assistant manager. We'll see if he's still in the game. We're certainly going to need one because Sammy Clingham won't sign a new deal. But if you're looking forward to us reviewing our season after playoff disappointment against Newry, though I'm sure we'll still be better for that experience in a year or two's time, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. We'll have a look today at our squad plan up for what we aim to do next year. I'm hoping it won't need an overhaul, but I do want to increase the squad depth, try and loan out a lot more youngsters and make this a bigger squad for the future. We'll talk through some of the potential problems as well. Financially is one you can see from the right. But let's go and talk about our season review first, the formal club one. We'll skip to that and be back in a minute. And here it is. No trophy in the end, but a really important season for us, because when coming up, we wanted to be sort of lower mid-table. We wanted to make sure we were comfortably safe, and we believed we had the squad to do that. And we did. I mean, it was very tight at the start of the season. There were a lot of draws, but that little run of 1-0 wins we went on, it revolutionised our season, and we've got to try and build on that from here. So let's have a look at the new arrivals and people who were key this year, because it is a potential problem we'll get onto later. A lot of loan players that were in the squad that don't look like we can get them back. And of course, there are some players who are unhappy, who are perhaps moving on. And I do feel we're going to need a pretty big summer here. So the star man that's come in is actually one of our biggest problems. Dylan McLean joined from Leicester Nirvana in January. And he is the first player we've had who's just improved massively. I've talked about it a couple of times. Developing on and off the pitch, his personality's improving, but he's only got a contract until December and he won't sign a new one. His agent has said, yes, we want 75, 80 quid a week, which was fine. And then we got to the deal and he said, I'm not discussing because I want to play at a higher level. Now, that seems to happen a bit this year where what the agent says and what the player wants don't marry at all. We had it with Woking as well on live stream with one of our key midfielders first season. Agent said, yes, this is the deal we want. And then he wouldn't discuss terms. So does appear to be a certain issue within the game. And then quite often you find those agents get sacked. So maybe it's just their way of falling out. But overall, I'm really pleased with this season. I know Dylan McLean gets the most mention, but another defender, Kofi Orkin, deserves a huge shout too. A great spot by the recruitment team during the summer, has been an ever-present at the back, is still improving despite having some arrows there, but we all know the arrows mean nothing. And then alongside that, you've got some players who have come in and been part of the squad. Diego McGann and Jala have been part of that too, and in some Lone Stars. The Lone Stars have been crucial. Reed, Johnston, Becht, Latifa, key parts of the squad. Mark Edgar, maybe a slight disappointment, but McLean will solve that problem until December at least. And then Foster, solid squad player. Surgener, we didn't really get to see much of. But overall, you look at that and you think, actually, we probably have strengthened the squad this year. Because if you look at the players that went out, Ryan McGivern being the main one, 34 when he left, a little bit over the hill, starting to decline physically and not having as much of an impact. And that is something I'm trying to work towards now. Can we build a younger squad? Can we get players on contracts where we actually make some money out of them? And I'm not even looking at transfer fees. I'm looking at, can we sell people for nothing, but with a 20% sell-on clause? So then if they go later down the line for 50 grand somewhere, we'll get ourselves 10 grand. And that is what you've seen, a quarter of our debt, just like that. So they're the little deals that we need to get done. We need to try and get youth players tied down too, but we've talked about those problems countless times. In terms of the loans out, only Dara Mallon, one of the youngsters, went to Crewe United. That's something I'll be trying to do a lot more next year. I know that they were unhappy about it, the board, but We're not giving loan fees, it's about experience. We've talked about the issues with friendlies for the under-18s and reserve teams. I will try and schedule a few myself next season, but either way, we need to get some of these out of the club, because where we're strengthening our first team squad, they're not getting as many games now. So the only way they develop is if they're playing football. And we've seen that third tier in Northern Ireland. It's a good enough level, and the clubs are all fairly similar behind the scenes to us. So let's go and get through to the season results. What a season it was. We were expected to avoid relegation, and for a large part, it looked like that's what we were going to do. I mean, if you go back to the start of the season here, when we had that run of 6 games without a win, but even then, we'd won 3 of our first, 14 games? We were in that 11th spot, we had less than a point a game. And it was just a matter of time. We talked about it. If we could start turning those draws into wins, I was talking about being more ruthless, but it actually went the other way, didn't it? Rather than scoring more goals, we probably scored less if anything, we stopped conceding. And I didn't change anything tactically. I don't really know what caused it. Maybe it was just having competition. KLM Reid came in on loan late in the window. We then got Foster in November. We then got McLean in January. Did that extra depth just give the players a little bit more of a push? I don't know. That's the only thing I can possibly think of, because we changed nothing else. But when we go on to November onwards, it just became 1-0 to the Distillery. 4 in a row there. 1 there, 1 there. There were so many 1-0 wins. And even late in the season, away at Newry to secure our playoff spot, it just became our infamous result. And despite being mid-table in terms of goals scored, we were able to pick up points. A key thing for us not losing too many games, that's because if we weren't winning 1-0, we were quite often drawing 0-0 late on. And early in the season, getting draws instead of defeats, that did end up being crucial for us. Overall though, we do have to reflect on a negative, which, although it was a great experience to be there, although I didn't expect to go up this season, we did wilt a bit in the playoffs and we struggled against a good side. But with Ballymena out of the league, I can't imagine the team coming down will be as good. With Newry going up via the playoff, maybe at the expense of Portadown, we're going to have a weaker league next season. And if we can bolster the squad, get a little bit of playing experience in there, even if it's younger players, then I think we'll be ready for a promotion push. And again, maybe next year we can reach the playoffs but actually succeed in them. Because I did tell you I wanted to be in the top tier within 5 years. We've got 2 years left to do it. That, though, was a bonus season. Looking at the Northern Irish Cup, we went out to Armagh. We disappointed in that competition. In the League Cup, we lost in the 3rd round to Cliftonville after beating Ballymena and Dergview. 2 brilliant results them. And in the Antrim Shield, well, we went out to Glentoran. There were no surprises there. The moments to remember. Biggest win, the 6-0 on the final league day against Ballyclare. I mean, we saw that a couple of episodes ago. It was utter madness, wasn't it? A 3-1 win against Newry early in the season. I think that might have been a cup game, was the match to remember. Jordan Jenkins, a rare day where he decided to score goals. And 2-2 against Dundalk, score goal of the season. I'm pretty sure we played that game on camera too, didn't we? Levingston scored a daisy cutter from 28 yards. Always loved that description of a goal. Through to the finances, they are not good. I think it's a very simple summary there. Still a half-a-star reputation. Sponsorships up. Broadcast revenue is up. It's 3 times the amount at the 2nd tier level. But all the other stuff, very similar. And I know there's a few more bits to trickle in, but it's not great. We've got to be fair on that. Let's move to how we lined up. Are the best 11 players that we would agree with? So the back 4, maybe McLean if he'd been here longer, but I can't argue. Chambers above Becht is an interesting one in centre midfield, but the rest of it no complaints. I think you can see though where the issue is. Bar the left back area, which is now sorted, the worst rated area is up front, and Jordan Jenkins at times this year has been infuriating, which means we're going to have to address that in the summer. We'll look at how in a moment. Let's get through to the accolades because we didn't win anything this year. I feel we should get manager of the season, but I'm not sure if that award's come yet, and maybe Ballymena will get it for just romping the league. Most league goals in the season, Jordan Jenkins, 12. I know there's more games at this level, but that's not enough if we want to go up, because our strikers weren't scoring for the most part. The positive, though, is clean sheets. Nearly half of the league games, Connor Mitchell, fabulous effort, has now agreed to sign a new deal, and he's going to be a big player for us next year, particularly with the defence likely to change a bit. So signing of the season is one of those defenders, Dylan McLean. We've got goal of the season to Levingston, who's basically got a clean sweep of awards. And then going down, most assists, Chris Johnston. Can we get him back next year? And then Sebastian Beck, best pass completion, but not in a team of the year. History in the making though, as we did really well, and that mid-season run they're talking about. It allowed us to overachieve, get playoff experience, and hopefully prepare for a big year next year. With that done though, let's get through the Dynamic Manager timeline, see what else is there for this season. Let's get to the end if we can. So this year, ton up, we managed 100 games in our defeat against Cliftonville in the League Cup. Did get to the quarter-final though, it was a good effort. What's this about? A team can only take so many L's until it moves quickly from tragedy to comedy. The 3 distilleries succumbed to in a row marked a new look away now record. That's a bit harsh. We were playing one of the best teams in the country. I mean, have a bit of respect on us, will you? Still a few too many transfers in this little timeline for my liking, but otherwise, a really good year. We can have no complaints. So let's go through all of this stuff. The initial budgets is going to be a key one. Have we got any more money to work with in terms of wages? Let's see. Oh, I think we have. 1.2 is higher than we've got at the minute. Yeah, 337 remaining. I'm sure it was about 900, wasn't it? And then a bit on for the scouting. We could probably do the same again next year because those surrounding divisions, it's 1 up and 1 down. And that for us is the top tier and the third tier here. So it's almost the perfect place to go down a scouting range. Let's have a look at the season review there. Defied the odds with a strong spell. Supporter profile hasn't changed. We've lost media followers for going up apparently. I'm not too pleased about this though. Next season, we're expected to reach the playoffs by the fans. Surely the board's going to be a bit more realistic, is it? We will look at the data hub in the next couple of seasons, but not this time around. I want to see the difference when we've got a goal scorer in. What is the club vision? Please don't expect masses. You want... Oh, they do. They want the playoffs next year. So there is no wiggle room now. We have got to strengthen the squad. We have got to push towards promotion. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because they are a good club and I do want them to be there within 5 years. But I feel like we're being punished for overachieving this year in terms of expectation. But then most boards in real life have become like that now. Dressing room atmosphere, managerial support, dynamics, all very good. I am worried about the highly influential players though. Farquhar's loan is ending. I don't think we'll get him back this time. Mark McKee, and this is the one that really annoys me, is the last original in that first 11, but he won't sign a new deal. And because of that, I think we're going to lose him. Daniel McGill will be the only one left. We'll accept the club vision. End of season team meeting we'll do in a moment. And a reflection on the fact that, again, not many injuries. And we've talked about this before. I got slightly distracted there, you have to forgive me. But where we've not got much training, we're not getting many injuries. It seems a huge balance and a huge percentage of the injury problems in FM23 are training related. Whenever we've managed a professional club, like on our live streams and like in my off-camera save, injuries galore. Where we've been in this save and where we've been in the head coach so far, not too many injuries because largely we've been at semi-pro or amateur clubs, and it definitely seems to be a pattern in this year's game. In terms of the playoff defeat, that's what I was moving on to. We were soundly outplayed. I know in the home leg we put up a bit of a fight, but let's be honest, Newry deserved to go through and they'll be in the final. We'll keep an eye on how they get on. So of course we'll reflect on that when we're back for our transfer special next time. Will it be Newry or Portadown in the second tier? But for today, the big thing we've got to do is go and have a look at this squad. We'll look at the planner later on, but I just want to go to the actual squad first because we've got a lot of players who are leaving and it's an easy way to see which ones are out. So my big problem is Dylan McLean. Will he sign a new deal? I don't know. Mark McKee is a massive frustration. He wants to leave the club. It's again over training facilities. It's so common in FM23, even at ridiculous levels like this, to ask for improved training facilities and to lose the only original that could have gone all the way with us over that. It really annoys me, to be honest, because even if he wasn't a starter, he could easily be a squad player till we get to the top. So that one's a little bit annoying. We've got out of contract players or non-contract players who are looking at leaving. A few of them are getting interest. We'll see what happens with them. And then lots of loan players expiring. At the moment, I did have a brief look before we started. Only Sebastian Beck we can offer a new deal to. We've got Latifa, who's out of contract at the end of December. Craig Farquhar, who I think is out of contract at the end of next month. So we can offer him a deal, but at the moment, he doesn't want to sign one. And then KLM Reid, just going back to his parent club, as is Chris Johnston, who I should say is out of contract too. But at the moment, it looks like he might be going to a top tier club rather than us or anyone else. Looking at the rest of the squad though, it is the first time we've had a sort of core or spine of the team tied down for a year. You can see we've got the likes of McGill, Jenkins, Levingston, Chambers, Mitchell. Really good, solid, experienced players tied down for another year. Orkin, another one of those two. And then a few youth players which we need to work on. Can we get transfer fees? Can we loan them out? Can we get them football? We'll see about that later on. But for now, I don't think there needs to be a massive revolution this year. But we are still going to have a few voids in the squad, because where we are at the moment, are we going to have the squad depth without the loan players that are currently here? I don't think so. So let's move over to the squad planner and see what we expect to do this summer. And it's at this point you start to realise that we've got a few deficiencies in the squad. So I've given you the full view this time so you can see the top 3 choices in each position. And I'm going to talk you through where I think the problems are and why we've got to improve. And I've got to be honest, having looked at this, I actually think we need more work than I thought initially. I think I've been a little bit unrealistic and maybe a little optimistic about our chances. So it could be more of an open heart surgery than I thought in this team. Let's have a look at the goalkeeping role, which is one of the few that's good. Connor Mitchell first choice, I'm happy. Neil Graham second choice, I'm happy. The goalkeeping role needs nothing. Neither does left back as it stands. Now, I've put Dylan McLean further down because I don't know what we're going to do with him. Out of contract at the end of the year, have we got him for the whole season? I don't know. At the moment, him and Edgar, brilliant. If not, could get a little bit tricky as we move along. Centre half though, is where the problems immediately start to become big. Because Orkin is great, and I've got absolutely no problem with him being a starter next year. Daniel McGill would be fine if he wasn't also the best option at right back. And then we're out of options. Johnny Snoddy's a youth player. Diego McGann is a pay-as-you-play with a tackling rating of 3. Reed and Farquhar, loan shoes that have got to be filled. We are a little bit short there. The same at right back, which has been the case all year. Can we finally find an upgrade? Or can we get enough centre-halves in that McGill can then be right back again? Because I actually like having McGill in the team. He's got a great personality. He's good to have in and around the squad, and he's always played pretty well. So him and Foster, I wouldn't be devastated with if we got good centre-halves in. Into midfield, it gets a little bit tricky again because I can't include Beck yet, although I do expect him to return on loan. If he does, it starts to look a lot better. Levingston, albeit is unhappy, should be here next year. Jack Chambers, the same again, should be here next year. Colin Robinson's a decent youngster. McGann is okay off the bench. And of course, if we've got Becht in there as well, we start to look a really solid team in the middle of the park. The number 10 role, though, is a little bit different to that. Or is it? Because we know we're losing Mark McKee, which I've talked about the frustration of. I really wanted him to be here for the long haul. And it will mean no originals in that first 11 next year. But we've still got good youngsters in Andrew Millard. There was another one that came through this year's intake. McVarnock can still compete at this level. And Jordan Jenkins is going to be question of the summer. I don't really want him to be my striker next year because Marty Bell's better off the bench and I want a better starter. And I have got my eye on someone we'll look at in a moment. But in that number 10 role, he might be very important because he is a decent finisher. He breaks in behind. He's got quite similar attributes to McKee, to be honest. So I wonder if he could end up there if we don't get someone better in. Or is he just going to end up as a backup in all the positions if we're able to get 3 or 4? But there are certainly bigger priorities than replacing Jenkins as a number 10, in my opinion. Because if you look on the left and the right of midfield, we are relying on amateur and youth players. Latifa and Johnston, as it stands, are going back. It has been a problem area throughout this save, whether it's been a loan or a non-contract terms for Healy on the right, whether it's been Withers on loan on the left, now this year Chris Johnston on loan on the left. We just haven't been able to tie down really good players. I'm happy with Buchanan as backup, good young player through the academy. He's done well for us when he's played, but the rest of it, I'm a little concerned about at this level. So getting a top left winger is going to be crucial, and then getting a replacement for Buchanan will be big too. Up front is the biggest concern because for all of our quality this year, for all the 1-0 to the Distillery and the laughs that's brought along with it, we haven't scored enough goals. And if we had been able to compete in front of goal with a Nuri or a Ballymena, we'd probably be talking about a title challenge this year. And that's how close we were. Now, you might say it was our best chance, given some of the players that will be leaving this summer, but but I do have faith still with our link with Linfield and with some of those loan players that are out of contract or whatever. We've seen it before. If it goes long enough, we might be able to get them back in. What I do worry about, looking later down the line, is where do we win games? And if we've got one of those frustrating 0-0s again, are we going to be able to rely on either Jordan Jenkins or Marty Bell to do the job? The simple answer is no. So I've probably been a little over-optimistic in terms of this squad. Let me know in the comments what you think of it. Do you think we'll be able to get any of the loanees back? And do you think we'll be able to improve? As we do that, I'm going to have a little talk with you about some of my targets for the summer. And we'll also have a look at some of the maybes, the ones that we might be able to get back on loan, that we might be able to offer a deal to if they're still unemployed in August. But equally, you don't want too many of those because otherwise your pre-season's harmed and you don't have enough players fully fit and up to speed for the start of the year. We saw the impact of that last season. So let's go over to the scouting centre. We will set up some recruitment focuses. I've had defensive ones going on all year. And of course, our scouts generally are pretty good at finding players that become free agents. But here are some of the ones we're looking at the moment. And if I go up front, and I know it seems to be the same every single transfer window, there is only one player I'm looking at. He is the only man who's come into our team and just scored with continuing regularity. I'm sure you can guess who it is. Because Leon Boyd, the man who we had on loan first season, is out of contract in 2 weeks. Now, at the moment, he is willing to discuss terms as a star player and improve the training facilities and all of that rubbish that keeps coming up, but the wage demands are too much. He is one of those I put in the bracket. If he's not picked up in June or maybe at the start of July, can we then get him in for a reasonable wage? That's something we've got to keep an eye on with these players because a lot of times this year we've had players who they're not willing to discuss terms or they want 250 quid a week. Remember Sienna Foster last summer? The start of June he wanted 250 quid. Come November he wanted 45 or 50 because he understood he wasn't getting a move. Now that has become more realistic in this year's FM and I hope we can take advantage of it. We've also got Sebastian Becht who I will be immediately going back in for on loan. It seems like we can renew it, although it's changed since yesterday. I might have missed the boat on that one. We'll have to leave it for now. Hopefully that'll change when he goes back to his parent club. It's another thing we've seen quite a lot this year. Players will go back, they'll get assessed in pre-season, and then in mid-July the club will go, actually, you're not going to be part of our plans. We can loan you out. And again, I've no problem with that. It's a lot more realistic. We've got a lot of wage bill to work with as well. When McKee gets released in the summer, that'll be 400 quid a week that's not being spent. We can also get rid of a few of the non-contract ones if we need to. And looking ahead again at the scouting budget, we are probably going to be able to, if we get 19.5 grand again, push a little bit of that over, which might give us an extra 100 quid a week. I know there's a good core there. Getting some of these players tied down on reduced terms, like Levingston, like Mitchell, like Jenkins, I feel can only benefit us. But let me know what you think, because that's important too. Are we going to be able to deliver next year? Are we going to be able to get all the players we want? And to be fair, after yesterday's episode of the head coach, shouldn't we just be glad that we're in charge of it? Because we've seen what happens when you're not. If you did enjoy this episode though, our breakdown of the season and what we think we've got to do this summer, please do chuck a thumbs up on it. Subscribe down below for daily FM23 content from 2 long-term stories. The head coach was back for a new season yesterday. I did just reference it, but it was an absolute clanger. I don't think I've ever had an episode like it in the history of the series. You can find that one up in the eye above. Let me know if you agree with my assessment of this squad here. We will prepare for season 4. Can we go on a promotion push? Can we reach those playoffs? Or will we underwhelm, struggle a bit, and then maybe even get sacked with the new high expectations? I'll be hoping we can avoid that, but in the meantime, you can find the Twitch channel for daily live streams up in the eye above. There's much more up there too, including our top 3 playlist. But above my head now is yesterday's head coach. Please do give it a try if you haven't already. And I'll see you back here in a couple of days' time for our very own transfer special ahead of season 4 and our biggest ever expectation at Distillery.